there. My name is Calliope, and I am an alternative medicine doctor. As I understand it, you are here for an intake examination. Is that correct? Wonderful. So let me just check here. So you did fill out the forms online. That's wonderful. And if I could just have you confirm your name and date of birth. Good. And is that your preferred name? How do you like to be addressed? Okay, just wanted to double check. I do think that I saw it. Okay, it was on your questionnaire, but just want to double check. So, I do have what you reported on your questionnaire, but I'd like to hear in your own words what kind of symptoms that you are having that made you seek out my services. Okay. Okay. Anything else you can think of, even if it seems completely unrelated? I'll just jot that down. There we go. Okay, so for our first session here, our first examination, I am going to be doing a full body, physical and energetic workup. We're going to use some techniques from different parts of the world. We have a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and even some Western techniques as well. So this is not going to be like your allopathic doctor's examination. There are some things that may be a little similar, but it's going to be a whole bunch of different tests than you might be used to. So for this examination, I am going to need to be touching you. Is that okay with you? Do I have your consent to do that? Wonderful. So we are going to start with the tongue diagnosis. So for a tongue diagnosis, we are going to be looking at the color, the shape, size, texture, like if there are cracks or little red dots or scallop marks. We'll look at the tip of the tongue, and from these characteristics, we can get a good idea about what's going on in the body. So I just have a little tongue depressor here, and this will allow me to help navigate the entire tongue. So if I could have you just stick out your tongue, and I'm going to get a little closer here. All right. Good. Okay. So normally in a healthy individual, the tongue should be pink with a thin white coating of normal size, not swollen, not atrophied. And depending on different qualities, we might see that perhaps we have a G deficiency, for example. If we have a thin coating and scallop marks around the edges, or possibly we have a yang deficiency. If the tongue is very swollen with a thick coating instead, the presence of heat or cold in the body, excess or deficiency, dampness, stagnation. I'm just looking around, noting, is the color overly red, overly pale? Some may get a very dark tongue as well. Do we have the little red dots near the tip of the tongue? Does the tip of the tongue have a different color? Do we have the presence of scallop marks? Okay. What the coating is like. Good. Okay, and if it looks overly swollen, overly thin. Okay, and you can put your tongue back into your mouth. Let me just take a few notes. Okay, good. Now our next method of diagnosis is going to be the pulse diagnosis. So it's going to be a little different than how we see in Western medicine, where we measure the pulse at the radial artery. Generally, we use 2 fingers. Some people do use 3, but we are going to look at similar characteristics. Although this type of pulse diagnosis encompasses a whole lot more than Western allopathic medicine. So this method comes from Eastern Asian traditional medicine, as well as Ayurveda and even ancient Islamic medicine. So we have our 3 positions on each wrist, and there can be 24 to over 30 different pulse characteristics. And I'm going to be diagnosing the pulse itself. And we also have different positions so that we can check in on some of the organs as well. So I'm going to start with your left hand here. Start by assessing the pulse, and we look at characteristics like the speed. Is it overly fast, indicating heat? Is it overly slow, indicating possibly coldness? We look at the length of the pulse. We look at the width and the depth as well. Good. We might have different qualities like slippery or thready, hollow or firm. Look at the fluid level, how much blood it feels like is flowing through, and also the force, among other things. And we can feel the right side. We have the inch, gait, and foot positions. Good. Okay, and your pulse is quite easy to feel. It's not just on the superficial level, but it's not too deep either. It's right in the middle. Some people, it's very hard to feel where their pulse is at. It might be rather thin Good. Okay. And I'm going to feel both pulses at the same time as well. Okay. All right. So I'm going to note down some of those qualities. And then we can get into the organs themselves. So there are going to be 12 different positions here that we can look into. So firstly, on the superficial position, the left side, our first position here, this is the small intestine. And we can gather some information from the meridian that can be felt there. Our second position on the superficial layer is the gallbladder. Okay, and then third is going to be the bladder. And then if we go deep, our first position is the heart. Second position is the liver. And the third is the kidneys. Good. Now on the other side, our first position on the superficial layer, we have the large intestine here. Second is going to be the stomach. Third is the triple burner. Good. And first deep position is the lung. Then the spleen. And then the pericardium. Okay. Good. And triple burner. Okay. So now we are going to employ one of our Western techniques. And we are going to be using our stethoscope here to auscultate the heart and the pulses. So I am going to listen firstly with the diaphragm of the stethoscope. And I would just like you to keep breathing normally. You don't have to change your breathing at all. And we start and move to around where our pulmonary valve is. And we have the tricuspid right here. And the mitral valve. And then we're going to turn to the bell of the stethoscope. So we have the mitral. The bell is used to hear more lower pitched sounds. The diaphragm hears the higher pitched. Okay, and back to tricuspid. Pulmonary. And aortic. Okay, and then we can take a listen to some of the pulses as well. This isn't something that is often done in Western medicine, except for auscultating for bruits or audible heart murmurs in the carotid arteries. And I'm going to start by putting this right at the temple here. We're going to listen here. Good, just keep breathing normally. Okay. And right here. Good. Sometimes this can be a little tricky. Yours is coming in loud and clear. And then let's move down to the carotid here. Okay. Now I am going to have you take a deep breath here and hold. That way I can hear the pulse without hearing the air travel through the trachea. Okay, and exhale. Good. Deep breath in. And hold. Good, and exhale. Let's turn this to the bell. Deep breath in. Good, and exhale. Deep breath in. And hold. And exhale. Okay. Now I'm going to listen to the radial and the brachial pulse points, rather. So I'm just going to put this on the radial artery pulse point on the wrist. This one can be a little tricky. Just kind of have to feel around for this one. Here we go. And the bell here. There we go. That comes in nice. Sometimes that little rimmed shape captures it a little bit better than trying to put the flat surface on there. And the other side, diaphragm. Maybe the ulnar side's a little bit better. Yeah, ulnar's a little better. Then we'll go with the bell. There we go. Good. and let's do the brachial. So this is going to be in the crook of the elbow. This one is fairly common, at least when someone is taking your blood pressure. They put the stethoscope there so they can hear when the blood stops flowing to the rest of the arm. And the bell here. There's an interesting pressure change in the ears when one is listening to the bell side as opposed to the diaphragm. You have to be careful when lifting off because you might pop your ears. It can be kind of loud. And the other side. And then we'll move on to looking at your chakras. Okay, and the bell. So auscultation is complete. Okay. And then for the chakras, to diagnose those, we are going to employ the use of a pendulum. More specifically, I'm going to use this quartz pendulum here. Now, when we are looking at the health of the chakras, and this is an Ayurvedic term for energy centers, we'll be looking at the 7 major ones here. So, in terms of diagnosing, the pendulum, when it is over a chakra, should spin clockwise. If it spins counterclockwise, if it goes up and down or side to side, we might have some blockage in there, and if we don't get any movement at all, it is absolutely blocked. So just going to make sure this is level. Okay, and we are going to start with the root chakra. This is your foundation. This gives us our sense of security, and it also represents our DNA, who we fundamentally are, a bit of our ancestry. And we are getting a very clear clockwise direction, which is good, because if our foundation was shaky, then everything that is built upon it is also shaky as well. So then we move on to the sacral chakra, and this is represented by an orange color. And the sacral chakra is about our emotions, our creativity, and sexuality. Good, and I'm getting a nice, easy clockwise direction here. And then if we move to the solar plexus here, the solar plexus is going to be about our willpower and our self-confidence. Okay, we've got a bit of conflicting information here. So let me just try this again. It did start spinning correctly, but then it just sort of stopped. Okay, so we want to keep an eye on that one. And then for our heart center. This is going to be at the center of our chest, represented by green. And our energetic heart center is all about love. Platonic, familial, romantic, self. Okay, we've got just a little bit of movement, no rotation. Okay, we'll move to the throat chakra. And this is going to be our seat of communication. It's for both how we communicate to other people and how we are communicating with the self. Okay. Let me see. Let's get a good. Okay. We'll go to the third eye. And this is our intuition here. Right in here. This is usually a blue color. Okay, there we go. Good, so the third eye is healthy, spinning correctly. And then we have the crown chakra. And this one is a bit complicated to explain because it governs a lot. So this is our intelligence, our wisdom, how we connect with the world. It is our center for bliss. Nirvana is a big one that involves the crown chakra. And we are all good there. Good. So let me note that down. That's interesting that we have our solar plexus, heart, and throat chakra that are having some issues. So let me just note that down. So we had and that was vertically. That's good to keep in mind. Now I would like to look at your aura. And there are a few methods I can employ to actually be able to visualize the aura. So I am going to do a little bit of fluffing just so I can pull out the edges a little bit, and we can also spray a sort of contrast on it. Good, just teasing out the edges. Good, and just pulling it almost like a taffy, stretching it out, and just letting it bounce back a little bit while giving us just a bit more room to work with. So the aura is an egg-shaped structure. There are 7 layers to the aura. 7 is a rather common number to work with in metaphysical spaces. Good. Let it snap back a bit. And the auras can have multiple colors in them. It's more common that they're just one or maybe two colors. We look for holes or tears, places where the layer of the aura might be a little too sandwiched between others. Maybe there's a little bit too much space. Oh, let that snap back. Oh, good. So I'm going to spritz a little bit of an herbal mixture, and this is going to allow me to see the distinct layers much easier. And I'm just going to give this a little spritz all around. So we'll just do a little bit here and there. I didn't get any in your eyes, right? Okay, just wanted to make sure. And let me take a little look here. Okay, it's almost sort of saran wrapped together, if you will. I think I'm gonna have to try to pull apart the layers a little bit. So I'm just going to take these sort of little pinching movements and unsticking it. It should form almost like a little bubble around you, but it's rather close to your physical body. Which is a little interesting, especially combined with our solar plexus, heart and throat chakra blockage imbalance thing. Your aura has made itself much smaller. And that may be indicating that you yourself have made yourself much smaller in the presence of other people and maybe even to yourself. Okay, just trying to pinch and stretch everything a little. Okay, let me take a look. That's definitely better. So let me see what we've got. So we do have predominantly a couple of colors here. Just trying to see if there is anything else floating around in there, if everything is nice and smooth, or if we have any textural differences here. You see, this is, it's pretty stuck. It's rather glued together. I think that definitely we're going to want to put an aura cleansing in your chart for recommended actions. Absolutely. So if I just piece apart things here. Yeah, it's like puff pastry almost. You can kind of see the layers, but it's difficult it's difficult to work. They open up a bit like an accordion when I've been pulling at them, but then they go right back to being sandwiched together. That's odd. It's really odd. I have seen it before, but that is stuck. Now, let's see. I'm going to pop on a little bit more of that contrast. I just want to make it a little more vibrant, so maybe instead of trying to pull it apart, I can just see the different layers a bit better. We'll see how it goes. Just get a good spritz. Okay, we'll see. Let's take a look. Okay, so everything's definitely brighter. I think I can work with that actually. So teasing out the edges didn't work very well, but giving it a deep dye job. That's where it's at. If I come at it the side a bit, it's much easier to see. Okay. Just, like that little bit of puff pastry of each layer was dyed a different color. That's kind of what it's like. Okay, well, overall it looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any major tears. I'm not seeing any major perforations. It's just more stuck. There we go. Okay, so now that I've kind of overworked it a bit, I'm going to smooth it down for you. So I'm just going to kind of press it back in and smooth it back in. So now we've got this interesting effect where the outer layers are teased out, but the inner ones are stuck together. I just want to press that back in. Now ideally it should not be this way, but if we make too many big changes, then sometimes it can be worse than having it as it is. We're just going to have to work on it. Alright, let's smooth that back down. Smooth. Soft egg shape around you. Smooth it down. Good. Okay. Excellent. So, let's talk a little bit about what we found and what we can do from here. So overall, with the tongue diagnosis here, I did see some signs of some qi deficiency and a little bit of a hydration deficiency as well. certainly need more water. Most people do. But those scallop marks around the edge can often indicate a hydration issue. So we did have a bit of paleness, and the coating is quite thin as well. So we have a little bit there. And in terms of our pulse diagnosis, so here, the pulse itself, it was easy to feel, which was good. So the pulse itself, from the qualities I gathered on both sides, are also pointing to more of a deficiency, maybe a bit of stagnation as well in the body. And in terms of looking at the organs, so most everybody was doing okay. There was a little stress with the spleen, the liver, and the heart as well. Everybody else overall, I would say, is healthy, so that's good. When we have a lot of stress, we can see that show up in the spleen and liver organs quite a bit. And in terms of our auscultation, upon our auscultation, your heart sounded pretty good. Pulses sounded good. They had that easy quality, except for our wrists here. It was easy to hear. I didn't have to search too much, and it sounded strong. And with the chakra examination, solar plexus, heart center, throat. Those are going to be things that we will have to address. And there are quite a few things that I'll go over with you that we can do to address that. And the aura we did just talk about. So lots of stickiness there. It is quite a bit smaller than it should be as well. So in terms of what we can do from here. Now, because we have such a wide range of modalities that we use, there are many different avenues that we can take to address different parts of your physical and energetic body. So, I think that I want to focus primarily on the chakras right now, because that's where we had the most issue. And I do think if we address that, then perhaps with the organs, we also will see those start to heal a bit. I do think with the chakras as well, that might also help the chi deficiency. So when we're working with TCM, with traditional Chinese medicine, we can address the chi with herbal remedies or things like qigong or tai chi. But with the Ayurveda side, there are quite a few things we can do that are relatively simple and, for the most part, fairly accessible as well. So this is something easy to start with. So firstly, fresh air and sunlight is going to work wonders on your chakras. In addition to that, if you have the ability, if you have the chance to, walking on the ground, on dirt, in your bare feet is going to be wonderful. So that has a deep grounding quality. It's great for the root chakra. And I know you didn't have any issues with that one, but strengthening that chakra is only going to bring those benefits upwards. So doing that and making sure we are getting enough fruits and vegetables in specific is going to be really important, and some more simple grains as well. So not our sort of sugary junk food things, some breads, and making sure we're eating a lot of different types of vegetables and fruits, especially if they are more raw or lightly cooked, steamed, things like that. That's going to be really great for the chakras. And a few other things. So definitely adequate sleep, not sleeping too much, not sleeping too little, but getting that around about 7 or 8 hours. Some people do need a little less to function well. Some people need a little more. But finding your sweet spot and sticking with that, that's going to be very vital. And in terms of more active things that we can do, gratitude is going to be a big one, and this one is fairly easy, where if something happens, or maybe in the morning, in the evening, if you think about the things that you're grateful for, even if it's just, I'm grateful it's a nice day today, or I'm grateful that my breakfast was pretty good, or I'm grateful that the traffic wasn't bad today. I'm grateful that it's warm. You know, even the simplest things. I'm grateful that cats are very cute and their fur is very soft. Things like that. That's going to help. And you can listen to different kinds of music for the chakras. There are different instruments that are more beneficial for certain chakras. And also there are different solfeggio frequencies that can heal the chakras. And lastly, meditation. That seems to be kind of the cure-all for a lot of different types of ailments. But meditation is even as simple as when you are driving, the brain goes into a state of natural meditation, especially if you go on your journey, arrive, and realize you don't remember anything about how you got there. That's that sort of natural meditation. We see it when we go on walks, especially in nature. Video games, you can get a sort of natural meditation as well, and you can actively cultivate meditation. There are tons of different little guided meditation audios and videos, or it can be as simple as just focusing on your breath. So that is going to be my prescription for you. And then the next time I see you, we can do a workup on what we were most concerned with and see where we're at, what kind of progress we've made. You have any questions for me? Yes, that was a lot of information. I will be sending you home with a little informational guide so that you're not trying to juggle all of it in your head. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, sounds good. It was absolutely wonderful meeting you today, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, it would greatly help me out if you clicked the like button and left a comment so YouTube's algorithm registers that it was a good video. If you want to see more of my work, consider subscribing to the channel. I create primarily medical, pseudoscience / alternative medicine, and personal attention ASMR roleplays. But I've done a little bit of everything from historical to sci-fi to fantasy. If you'd like to support the channel, I offer ad-free videos, early access on videos, and exclusive content on Patreon, or I also have a Ko-Fi link for a one-time donation, or a throne wish list for props and equipment. Thank you again, and I hope you have a whale of a day, and a good rest of your night.